Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the squelching cobbled streets of a plague-stricken medieval city. It's 1348 and the air is thick, literally. You hear coughing, weeping, the occasional moan behind boarded-up windows. Black flags flutter like sick crows from doors marked with crimson crosses. And you're not here to help. Not really. You're here because someone has to be. And that someone is you, a freshly hired plague doctor. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Go ahead, drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know where and when you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive by cart, the driver refusing to enter the city walls. Can't really blame him. Even from this distance, the smell is thick, like rot fire, wet wool, and something metallic that sticks in your throat. You heft your bag, clutch your rolled-up appointment letter, and trudge toward the gate. A coughing guard eyes you warily, but waves you through after all you're wearing the outfit. Already, the stares begin. You pass a group of barefoot children, silent and bony, who stop kicking a headless chicken long enough to point. One of them spits. You don't blame them either. You were told this was Florence, or maybe Avignon. The map ink was so smudged it's hard to be sure. But in truth, it doesn't really matter. Every plague city smells the same, sounds the same, dies the same. It's hard to say what bothers you more, the putrid air or the eerie quiet. Streets that should be crowded with merchants and farmers and church bells are instead filled with silence. And the creaking of carts ferrying wrapped corpses to mass pits. Not graves, just holes. And you get to walk past them on your way to work. Congratulations. The house you're assigned is near the center of town, prime location, if you want to be surrounded by dying nobility. A runner meets you halfway, young and desperate, his shirt torn but bearing a stitched crest. The master's children are coughing, he mutters, already backing away. You can't even ask his name before he bolts. You step over a collapsed man in the road. No one stops for him. No one even looks. Welcome to the stench. Behind a door that squeaks on rusted hinges, your assigned quarters await. It's a narrow, crumbling townhouse with one bed, one stool, and a strong chance of structural collapse. At least there's no one else here to infect you. Yet. As you drop your bag, something shifts in the corner. You freeze. But it's just a rat. A very large rat. You name him Giovanni and decide to tolerate him. You may need company. The note on the wall is from the city magistrate. It reads, "Doctor, your name here. Your presence is required immediately at the home of Lord Alessandro Montalto, whose household has fallen ill. Payment will be rendered upon successful treatment and confirmation of plague containment. City Council of Smudged." Successful treatment. That's rich. They know there's no cure. You slip on the heavy gloves, adjust your beaked mask, and head out again. There's no medical school diploma hanging behind you. You've probably never dissected anything larger than a chicken. Maybe you used to be a barber, or a monk, or just someone who could write Latin and stand upright for more than 5 minutes. That was enough qualification. Historians still argue whether plague doctors were legitimate professionals or just convenient scapegoats. What's not debated is this: they were paid to show up, not necessarily to succeed. And if you did die on the job, well, no refund required. The house of Lord Montalto is grand even in decay. Tall columns, flaking frescoes, and silence too heavy to be comforting. A servant lets you in and vanishes behind a curtain, muttering prayers under his breath. You step into a drawing room filled with velvet furniture covered in sheets, and 3 children lying motionless on the floor. One of them stirs. A girl. maybe 7. Her lips are cracked, her eyes glassy. Her hand fluttered toward you. "Are you Death?" she asks. You pause. "No," you say. "I just work for him." She laughs, then coughs. You kneel, examine the boils, black, oozing, clustered like grotesque grapes along her neck. She's already burning with fever. Her little brother beside her is worse. His fingernails have turned gray-blue. He might not last the hour. You reach into your bag. What do you have? A vinegar-soaked rag, some crushed mint leaves, a dried toad, a spoon. You dab her forehead and pretend it helps. It doesn't. Not really. But the parents are watching from the shadows of the stairwell, and they need to believe in you. That belief might be all that keeps you from getting tossed in a ditch alongside their children. You stay for an hour. You prescribe rest, boiled herbs, isolation. You ask for the servants to be dismissed to reduce spread. You even make them burn the mattresses. The mother weeps as they torch the nursery. You leave. That night, you write your first official case note on parchment stiff with grime. You sign it with an exaggerated flourish. You eat a crust of stale bread. Giovanni the rat eats better. Sleep doesn't come easy. The smell, even through your mask, clings to your skin. Your ears ring with coughs you can't forget, and the girl's voice. Are you Death? In the middle of the night, you wake to church bells tolling again. That's 7 rings. Another noble has died, possibly one of yours. Still think you're going to survive this fun fact. Some plague doctors used to stuff their beaks with lavender and juniper to purify the air. One guy even claimed dried rose petals soaked in vinegar could neutralize the bad humors. Meanwhile, the fleas laughed and kept biting. And get this, one fringe account insists a town hired a plague magician who buried iron nails in crossroads to trap the spirits of the dead. Didn't help. Just made the roads harder to walk on. You roll over, trying to ignore the scratching under the floorboards. Tomorrow, more patients await. And no, there's no hazard pay. Morning smells like sour wine, burnt feathers, and regret. You wake to a pounding on the door, not the polite kind. More like the, you're either dead or late kind. You sit up too fast and knock your head on a ceiling beam. Giovanni watches smugly from atop a pile of straw that wasn't there yesterday. You wonder what else he's dragged in. Time to suit up. You pull the heavy robes over your linen undershirt. Black waxed, vaguely terrifying your armor against a microscopic enemy no one understands. The fabric crackles like old parchment. It was designed more to scare than to save. Now the mask. You hold it up like a relic. The long, curved beak stares back at you with empty glass eyes. It's absurd and unsettling, a bird of death perched on your own face. You tie the straps tight. The leather creaks. Breathing instantly becomes a struggle. Inside the beak, you stuff your mix of dried herbs, lavender, mint, cloves, maybe some camphor, depending on the scent profile of your mood. You throw in a few juniper berries for flair. Supposedly, this cocktail filters the miasma, that invisible rotting cloud believed to carry the plague. Historians still argue whether the mask was genuinely meant for protection or simply performance. It's hard to say. What is certain is that it turned you into a walking omen. People see you and they run, or worse, they kneel. You grab your cane, a slim wooden rod with a curled end. Not for walking. It's for poking. Bodies mostly, but also panicked villagers. Think of it as your social distancing stick, medieval edition. Last, your gloves, thick waxed leather, too stiff for any delicate medical work. But then again, you're not exactly performing brain surgery. Outside, the fog hasn't lifted. The streets are quieter than yesterday. That could be good news. but probably isn't. You set off for the poor quarter. The magistrate wants a count, not a cure. A count. You're halfway down a narrow alley when the first tomato hits you. You flinch, but it's soft, overripe, and rotten. A group of rag-covered children jeer from a rooftop. One of them shouts, "Death crow," another just yells, "Devil, honestly, that one's kind of catchy." You keep walking. The cane taps rhythmically on the stones, step, tap, step, like a grim little metronome counting down someone's last minutes. Your first stop, a tenement house sagging under the weight of too many bodies and not enough wood. A woman opens the door with trembling hands. She doesn't speak. She just points. Inside, a narrow stairwell leads to a loft where a man lies unmoving. His skin is blotched black limbs curled inward like a dying spider. You poke him gently. No response. He's cold. You record it on your scroll. One more for the tally. The woman weeps softly in the corner, hugging a child that may or may not be alive. You can't tell yet. You'll come back later. Down the street, you visit a baker's home. You recognize him from yesterday. He was arguing with a priest about whether bread can carry disease. You tried not to eavesdrop. Now he's curled up on the floor, foaming slightly at the mouth. You prescribe vinegar-soaked linens and fresh air. He won't make it till dusk. His wife slips you a coin. It's sticky. You don't ask why. Mainstream historical fact time. Believe it or not, many plague doctors were compensated with civic contracts. In fact, some cities offered generous terms, lodging, food, and hazard pay if you lived long enough to collect. Of course, surviving often meant dodging your own patients. And fringe tidbit incoming, some records mention plague doctors who carried sweet-smelling apples in their beaks instead of herbs. Apples. As if fruity freshness might somehow fend off divine punishment. Imagine dying of the plague, and your last hope smells like an orchard. You stop for water at a public well. Bad idea. The water reeks. You decide not to drink. A passing merchant sees you and makes the sign of the cross, muttering a prayer under his breath. His cart is full of garlic onions and onions stuffed with garlic. Supposedly, they ward off infection. You make a mental note to try it later, probably on Giovanni. By midday, the sun peeks out and regrets it immediately. The heat brings out the worst smells, human waste, burnt feathers, and that sweet rot of uncollected corpses. You wrap another cloth around your beak opening just to take the edge off. It doesn't help. You pass a churchyard filled with fresh graves, well pits. Individual burials are a luxury now. A group of friars chant something mournful while a boy drags a dead goat by the neck toward a fire pit. You don't ask questions. A guard stops you near the cathedral and demands proof of employment. You show your letter. He stares at it upside down for a moment, shrugs, and lets you pass. Probably can't read. To be fair, neither can half the people who hired you. On the steps of the church sits a man dressed like a priest, but something's off. He wears no shoes. His robes are mismatched. He's carving a fish into the stone with a bone. He looks up and smiles. "You're late," he says, "for what you ask." He shrugs. "Doesn't matter. They're already dead." You decide not to ask further. There's only so much weird you can absorb before lunch. You retreat to the shadow of a crumbling fountain. There's no actual water, just a sad trickle of sludge. You sit anyway. Removing your mask in public is risky, but you need a break. You lift it slightly, just enough for air. Big mistake. The scent punches you like a wet sock soaked in sewer water. You gag. Mask goes right back on. Somewhere nearby, bells toll again. That's the fourth time today. Either the nobility is falling like dominoes, or someone's getting married to a corpse. Hard to tell lately. As you stand, a boy approaches you with a folded scrap of parchment. He doesn't speak, just holds it out and waits. You open it. Urgent. House near the tannery. 6 infected. Please come. No signature, but the wax seal has a crude fish shape stamped in it. You glance back at the barefoot priest on the church steps. He's gone. You decide not to think about it. The tannery is as awful as it sounds. It's where animal hides are soaked, scraped, and left to bake in the sun. You follow your nose until you reach the right door. Inside 6 people, all lying in rows, none moving. 5 are clearly dead. The 6th is a child, breathing barely. You check her eyes, dilated. Her lips twitch. You do what you can. A damp cloth. You whisper nonsense comfort words through the mask's narrow slit. She opens her eyes. "You're not death," she whispers. "No," you say. "Not yet." You mark the rest for collection. The pits will be full by sundown. As you leave, someone throws a bucket of urine from a window above. It misses you by inches. Small wins. The bucket of urine wasn't personal. Probably. It's just a Tuesday in Plague Town. You've learned not to take things personally when you're a walking omen in waxed black robes. The urine dries quickly in the sun. You don't mention it when you arrive at your next stop. It's the Montalto house again. Yes, that Montalto house. The little girl who asked if you were death. You brace yourself as the butler opens the door. His eyes are glassy, jaw tight. "My lord requests your presence," he murmurs. Then he bows too low, like you're royalty instead of the bringer of bad news. You follow him past the scorched nursery, past the room where the boy had already gone cold. There's a new silence in the house now. Not the sick people resting kind. The heavier kind. The kind that fills rooms like smoke after the fire's out. You find Lord Montalto seated at a table in the drawing room, still in his embroidered house robe, but now noticeably gaunter. His hands tremble slightly as he pours wine into a goblet, half misses. "Doctor," he says, nodding, without looking up, "tell me honestly. Will my daughter live?" You could lie. You're actually good at that now. But your pause is answer enough. He exhales and downs the goblet in one gulp. "I see," he mutters. "Then do what you must." You're not sure what that means. You nod anyway. It's a safe bet in Plague Town diplomacy. Upstairs, the girl is quieter today. Less twitching, less everything. You kneel beside her and place 2 fingers lightly on her wrist. The pulse flutters beneath your glove, weak as a paper bird. You change the linen on her boils. You pretend to check her eyes for humoral balance, though you know very well the only balance here is between denial and decay. Mainstream historical fact, many plague doctors relied on humoral theory. The idea that illness came from an imbalance of bodily fluids, blood phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Diagnosing someone was often more about guessing which fluid was angry today than observing real symptoms. Your own notes read like a stew recipe. As you dab her forehead, she whispers again. "Why do you wear a bird mask?" You smile behind it, though she can't see. "So death won't recognize me." She chuckles softly. The effort makes her cough. You stay until she sleeps. You leave a small sachet of rosemary and rose petals by her pillow. It's all you can do. Outside, you step into the street and draw a long breath through the beak. It's stale herbal and still not enough to cover the scent of despair. Someone calls your name, or something close to it. You turn and see a familiar face, if you can call faces familiar, when they're mostly hidden by scarves and fear. It's that monk, the one who smelled faintly of sheep the first time you met him. Brother Pietro. He used to work in the monastery outside town. Now he's dressed like a traveling scarecrow with a crucifix hanging from a string belt. They need you, he says. You follow him through winding alleys. A rat scampers ahead like a tour guide. At one point, you both step over a dead dog half covered with a sack. Neither of you comments. You arrive at a house with red marks painted on the door. Not just 1-4, someone really wanted you to notice. Inside are two patients, a middle-aged man and an older woman, probably his mother. She's still face-sunken mouth half open, like she died in the middle of complaining. The man is alive, but not by much. His breathing rattles. Boils bloom along his neck and down his ribs, like a second set of angry veins. Brother Pietro asks, "Will you bleed him?" You hesitate. Bleeding was never your strong suit. Also, you're not entirely sure which vein is not the one that makes arms fall off. But he's looking at you expectantly. You nod and take out your smallest blade. You prick the skin near the elbow. Blood oozes thick, dark, slow. That's not a good sign. You collect it in a small dish for no real reason. You just need to look busy. Historians still argue whether bloodletting helped at all or simply hurried the end. Some medieval texts claimed it reduced the fever demon. Others called it sanctioned slaughter. You find it mildly cathartic. You bandage the man's arm. Brother Pietro offers you a bite of bread, which you politely decline. It smells like it fought in a war. As you leave, Pietro says, "You do God's work." You consider telling him you forged your letter of appointment, that your Latin is shaky, that you once treated a boil with goose fat because someone told you it was divine. Instead, you just nod. Outside, the day has turned overcast. A fine ash begins to drift from somewhere another cremation site. You let it settle on your cloak like snow. No one brushes it off anymore. You stop at a tavern turned quarantine shelter. The innkeeper waves you in, then immediately backs into a corner as if your shadow might infect him. Inside, a handful of sick lie on makeshift pallets. The youngest is maybe 16, the oldest impossible to tell. Age folds weirdly when death is close. You move among them, checking pulses, feeling foreheads, replacing cloths. You give one woman a pouch of cloves. She smiles with cracked lips and says, "Will this save me?" You answer. "It'll make you smell expensive." She laughs so hard she nearly vomits. It's probably the most joy this room has heard in days. Before you leave, you scribble a note on the door, 5 infected. Mild symptoms. No collection needed yet. You underline yet twice. On your way back to your quarters, you pass a gathering near the market square. A man in red robes is shouting from a wooden cart. "Repent, the Black Death is punishment for lust and idleness. Return to virtue." A few people shout back. One throws a cabbage. Someone claps. You don't stop. These street prophets are like pigeons. You don't make eye contact unless you want to be targeted. Back in your quarters, you peel off your robes. Your shirt is soaked with sweat. Your hands stained with herb's blood and maybe ash. Giovanni is asleep in your bed. You don't have the energy to evict him. You check your notes. 18 houses today, 9 deaths, 2 miracles, and one little girl you really hope wakes up again. You eat half an apple. It's the first thing you've had today that doesn't taste like guilt. You light a candle not for prayer, but to keep the shadows back. The window rattles softly. A wind picks up. You imagine it whispering your name. Somewhere down the street, a scream splits the night. You close your eyes and hope it's not a house you visited. The scream fades, swallowed by the thick stone walls and the moaning wind. You lie still in your lumpy bed, staring at the wooden beams above you. The wax of your candle has nearly run its course, casting long, twitching shadows that dance like dying spirits across the ceiling. Giovanni is still curled at your feet, breathing in time with the rhythm of distant bells. 3 tolls, another noble maybe, or a baby. Could be both. You don't sleep much anymore. Not just because of the sounds or the smells, but because of what's growing in your mind. Guilt is patient. It waits quietly behind the mask, behind the herbs, behind the tiny victories. And when it finally speaks, it sounds like the little girl's voice, "Are you death?" You don't answer that anymore. By dawn, the fog has settled low and thick, like a cold soup poured across the cobblestones. You dress slower today. Your muscles ache from the inside out. You half joke to yourself that maybe you have the plague. Then you stop joking because honestly, you might. You do the ritual anyway, mask herbs, gloves cane. You consider skipping the waxed robe, but the sight of yourself in just a shirt and mask in the cracked mirror is unsettling. Like a naked crow. The mask stays. Your first stop is the magistrate's office. You'd hoped to avoid it, but yesterday's visit to the poor quarter needed reporting. And you need a new scroll. Yours is full of little charcoal crosses and barely legible names. Most spelled wrong. The magistrate doesn't greet you. He just gestures to a scribe. The scribe is 17 and terrified. He slides a blank scroll your way like it might explode. You scribble the tally and sign with your usual flair. The magistrate eyes the numbers. Too many, he grunts. You blink behind the mask. Yes, you say. He grunts again. And the Montaltos, you hesitate. The daughter still lives, you reply. His eyes flick up. For a second, just a second, something human flickers behind them. Send word when that changes. Not if. When. You leave without a goodbye. Outside, a crowd has formed. Not a riot. Yet. But the air hums with unrest. A woman is shouting near the well, pointing at a baker's boy. He stole garlic from my husband's grave. Someone throws a stone. You wisely turn the corner before it escalates. You don't have time to be mobbed today. That's tomorrow's appointment. You head toward the edge of town. A new letter arrived this morning tied to a rock thrown through your window. Surprisingly polite considering. Doctor, we have need of your services near the tannery. The afflicted cannot travel. Bring heat. The Sisters of Mercy. You're not entirely sure who they are. Mercy has been in short supply lately, but you pack a flask of hot coals and a poker just in case. The house is built into the hillside, low and squat. Smoke curls from the chimney. A red cross is painted on the door, but it's been smeared possibly with mud or something less pleasant. You knock once. The door creaks open on its own. Inside, 3 nuns, all masked in white linen veils. Their habits are singed at the hem. One holds a brass crucifix, another a ladle. The third simply nods at you and gestures to a back room. The patient is tied to a chair. You hesitate. He's foaming, eyes wild. Boils burst open across his neck and chest, but his face is clear. He thrashes when he sees you. He bit one of us, says the nun with the ladle. You nod. They want you to do something final. They just don't want to say it out loud. You approach. You pretend to examine him. You touch the poker to his skin. He jerks, yells, swears something in a language you don't recognize. You tilt your head. then walk away. "I'll send for collection," you say. The nun with the cross frowns. He may not last that long. You turn at the door. Then God will collect him first. Outside, you breathe deeply, regret it instantly. The tannery's scent hits you like a wet boot filled with liver. You double over, retching into a pile of hay. Mainstream historical fact. Many plague doctors didn't actually perform medicine. Their job was often to identify symptoms, log deaths, and separate the infected from the healthy, sometimes forcibly. In many cases, they were more bureaucrat than healer, a grim pencil pusher for the end times. You clean your gloves in a basin of vinegar and ash. It doesn't help much, but the act soothes your nerves. Rituals matter when the world is falling apart. You head next to the marketplace. It's eerily full. Not of buyers, but of looters. The guards stopped caring days ago. Now anyone still alive gets to play who owns this stall without consequence. You pass a woman selling leeches from a jar. She calls out to you, waving. "Doctor special price today, 8 leeches for the price of your dignity." You chuckle. She's wearing a pigeon on her hat. Live. It blinks at you. You buy the leeches. Back in the center of town, you stop at the Montalto house again. You're not sure why. You weren't summoned. But something tugs at you. The butler answers, face pale. "She's awake," he whispers. You rush upstairs. You forget to knock. The little girl is sitting up, barely sipping broth through trembling lips. Her eyes light up when she sees you. "You're not death," she says again. You kneel. "Not today," you whisper. Fringe. Tidbit time. A few rare cases exist of plague victims who survived after their buboes drained naturally and the fever broke. Some even claimed divine visions during the worst of their illness. Others claimed they heard birds speaking to them in dreams. Coincidence, maybe. Maybe not. Lord Montalto steps into the room. He places a hand on your shoulder. "Doctor," he says quietly, "you've done something no one else has. You almost feel proud. Almost." Then you remember the man tied to a chair, the looted stalls, the teenage scribe who flinches when you walk past. You nod, accept the compliment, decline the wine. You leave without a word. Outside, the bells toll again. You count 6 rings, then 7. You stop counting. Back in your quarters, you remove your gloves slowly. Your hands are trembling. Under the mask, your face feels flushed, hot. You touch your neck. Nothing. Not yet. You eat the other half of the apple. Giovanni is gone tonight. Strange. You miss him. You lie down and stare at the ceiling. Then very softly, you whisper to yourself, "Not today." You wake up to silence again. But not the peaceful kind, the kind that presses against your eardrums like rising water. The kind that makes you wonder what's missing. No carts, no bells, no coughing fits echoing down the alleys. You lie still in bed, mask off, staring at the ceiling. Something is wrong. You sit up and realize it's not just quiet. It's too quiet. Even Giovanni's missing again. Either he's dead or he's found someone with better crumbs. You can't blame him either way. You swing your legs over the bed and pause before reaching for the waxed cloak. You flex your fingers. No swelling. No fever. You still human. Still marginally functional. You gear up, slipping on the robes like second skin now. The beak goes on last, the smell of mint and wilted thyme wafting up like some sick parody of morning perfume. Then comes the cane, your ever-faithful companion in poking, prodding, and crowd control. You open the door. Nothing. Not a soul in the street. Even the sky looks uncertain, gray, hazy, like it's trying to decide between rain or despair. Your boots echo on the cobblestones as you pass boarded windows and shuttered stalls. A dog watches you from a rooftop. The dog is wearing a bonnet. You blink. It blinks back. You keep walking. Your first patient of the day is the town baker. Well, was the town baker. You saw him just 2 days ago. Now he's propped up against the wall of his shop like a discarded sack of flour. Flies buzz lazily over his lips. You step over him and knock on the bakery door. His wife answers, eyes hollow. She doesn't speak. She just points. Inside, the children are sick. One is already gone. The other's not far behind. You leave them with lavender water, a soft word, and the lie that help is coming. You add 3 more names to your scroll. By midday, you've visited 10 homes, none with survivors. Your scroll is already stained with fingerprints and dried ink. You stop near the well to wipe your gloves. A man approaches you, moving with that too calm demeanor you've learned to mistrust. "Doctor," he says with a strained smile. "Might I have a word?" He's wearing clean clothes. Too clean. His hair is brushed, his boots shined. He looks untouched. You nod. "My name is Aldo," he continues. "I represent the Brotherhood of Saint Belisarius." You blink behind the mask. That name is not familiar. "We're a private order," he explains, "committed to providing alternative healing to those who can pay." Historians still argue whether these brotherhoods were early charities, predatory cults, or just opportunists in robes. What they all had in common was timing and a gift for appearing when the last proper doctor had either fled or died. "What sort of healing, you ask?" Aldo smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "Blood rituals, charcoal purging, sacred invocations. We've had success." "Success," you echo. He shrugs. "Statistically." You decline his offer to partner with the Brotherhood. Politely, then less politely. He watches you walk away like a man watching a candle burn to its last stub. You spend the rest of the afternoon treating a small convent near the edge of town. The nuns greet you with faint bows, their faces pale behind linen veils. One of them, Sister Elia, has red stains on her sleeves. Her hands tremble. "We had to cauterize," she whispers. You nod. "How many left?" 5. You don't ask how many they started with. You treat what you can. Mostly comfort. Some clove oil for the burning. A handful of sage. You sit with a dying novice who asks if she's allowed to feel fear. Of course, you tell her. Even the brave rot. She smiles at that, then closes her eyes. You stay until sunset. On your way back through the main square, you're stopped by a shouting match. A merchant in a green hat is arguing with a gaunt man dragging a wheelbarrow. "She died last night," the merchant yells. "Then you bury her," the man shouts back. "I paid the tax. I'm not taking her. I've got 3 on the barrow already." You step between them, your cane tapping once on the cobble. Both men turn and go silent when they see you. You've learned to use the costume. "She needs burial," the merchant insists. "She's my wife. And I, the barrow man, grunts, am not a saint." The corpse, wrapped in a once white sheet, lies awkwardly between them, like a guest no one invited. You step forward and check for signs of life. Nothing. Her body is bloated. One hand peeks out from the cloth fingers, stiff in a clawed pose. "Where's the priest, you ask?" They both laugh. You end up helping them move the body to the collection pit yourself. It's not your job, strictly speaking, but jobs blur here. You do what you must. The pit is deeper now, deeper than it was last week. The smell hits you like a wall. You hesitate. You nearly fall in. A rat skitters past your boot. Not Giovanni. Smaller. Less confident. You make a note to check your room again. Mainstream historical fact, plague pits, mass graves dug hastily on the outskirts of town were standard practice. Individual burials became impossible. Some pits were layered with lime to cleanse the rot. Others were just holes. Thousands of bodies lost in unmarked earth. Back in your quarters, you finally peel off the mask. You're not sure what you smell anymore. You think it's you. You light a candle, then another. Then you notice the note, slipped under your door. No seal, just a smudge of what might be blood or old wine. They say you're doing good work, but good men don't last here. Sleep lightly, no signature. You stare at it, then burn it. You sit down at your writing board and begin to sketch. Not patience, not numbers, just lines, shapes, swirls. You're trying to remember what it was like before, what the world smelled like, what bread tasted like when it didn't come with fear. You don't remember. You go to bed early or late. Time isn't linear anymore. You lie down listening for Giovanni. Nothing. Just wind and ash scraping along the shutter. Before sleep takes you, you whisper again. Not today, but this time your voice cracks. The wind wakes you. It slips through the cracks in the shutters like a ghost with cold fingers tugging at your blanket, rattling the bottles on your shelf. You sit up slowly, eyes bleary, and listen. Something isn't right again. But this time it's not silence. It's laughter. High-pitched, thin, and trailing off like a wheezing pipe organ. You shuffle to the window, open it a sliver, and peer out through the slanted wood. There on the street below, a small group of children, dancing, dancing. They're spinning in a slow, disjointed circle, arms-linked heads tilted back, singing something just outside the edge of sense. It's dawn, and the sky is violet gray, and you wonder briefly if you're still dreaming. One of them points up at your window. You duck instinctively. Wait. The laughter stops. You wait a little longer, then finally gear up. By now, it's muscle memory. The robe stiff with dried sweat and wax. The gloves still faintly damp from yesterday. The cane leaning by the door like a silent, judgmental partner. You take the beaked mask in both hands and pause. The herbs inside are stale. Crushed mint, dried lavender, maybe a wilted clove. You add a few fresh petals even though they won't help. They just make you feel like you're trying. Mask on, door open. And now it begins again. The first call comes from the guard station near the city gate. A runner meets you halfway there, a boy with red eyes and no shoes. They won't touch it, he mutters. Touch what? He just runs. At the gate, a body lies face down in the dirt outside the city walls. Odd. Most deaths don't get that far. Two guards stand nearby, arms crossed, shifting nervously. No one saw how he got there, one of them says. Looks like he walked out here and died, the other adds. But no one's walked out in days. You approach. The body is dressed in black, your kind of black. The waxed coat, the gloves, even the mask. Not identical, but close enough. You kneel. The robe is burned in patches as if it caught fire and someone tried to smother it. The beak mask is cracked down the center. You lift it. The face beneath is pale, eyes open, no buboes, no signs of the plague at all. You glance at the guards. Who was he? They shrug in unison. No idea. You check the pockets. A coin purse, half full, a sprig of rosemary, a crumpled note. You unfold it carefully. He wasn't one of ours, but he knew the name Giovanni. Your stomach tightens. You don't mention it aloud. Just fold the note, pocket it, and stand. The guards light a pyre. You watch until the flames eat the last of the mask. You try not to flinch when the wax melts with a shrill hiss. Fringe tidbit time. While no formal records list more than 1 or 2 plague doctors per town, local lore often whispers of doubles doctors who wandered from city to city under different names, always appearing just before the death toll spiked. One village claimed theirs multiplied at night. Chalk that up to fever dreams or panic, or something else. You head back into town, slightly rattled. The day doesn't improve. You're summoned to the city's pest house, a makeshift infirmary built inside an abandoned school. Rows of straw beds line the old classrooms. The chalkboards still show faded Latin conjugations. Someone scrawled a skull over the word vita. The air is thick, too thick. The smell of sweat, bile, and rotting cloth almost overpowers your herbs. Almost. A woman rushes toward you, face flushed, sleeves rolled to the elbows. She's not wearing a mask. Doctor, she calls. One of the patients. He's talking nonsense. You follow her into what used to be a music room. The ceiling leaks. A man thrashes on a cot in the far corner, arms lashed to the bedposts with torn curtains. His eyes lock onto yours the moment you enter. You saw the children, didn't you? He hisses. You freeze. They dance for him, he continues. In the night, in the corners. They carry teeth in their pockets. You nod slowly, unsure whether to indulge or ignore. He jerks hard against the ties. He's under your bed. The rat knows. Your hand drifts to your pouch. The note. Giovanni. You step forward and lift the man's sleeve. No boils, no fever, just madness. You scrawl a symbol on his chart. A code only you use, not contagious, possibly cursed. You prescribe tincture of valerian root and something to muffle his voice. The woman nods, grateful. As you turn to leave, the man whispers, "Ask the girl." She saw him too. You don't look back. Mainstream historical fact. Pest houses, also known as plague hospitals, were often converted from churches, schools, or warehouses. Staffed by the desperate or the expendable, they rarely healed anyone. Their true function was containment. On your way out, you pass a mural drawn in charcoal on the pest house wall. Its crude stick figures holding hands in a circle. One figure has a long, curved nose. You walk faster. You skip the Montalto house today. Some instinct tells you not to see her. Not now. Instead, you visit the butcher's wife. She's been surviving alone since her husband died, strong, no-nonsense, fond of cursing at cats. You find her sitting on her stoop holding a dead hen and a knife. "You're late," she says. "You didn't send for me." She snorts. "Everyone needs you. We just don't admit it." You examine her out of caution. She's fine, just tired. You linger longer than usual. You ask her if she's seen any odd things lately. She eyes you. Define odd. Children, dancing, in the night. She stares at you, then bursts into laughter. "Doctor," she wheezes, "you've been sniffing too much juniper." You nod. You agree. You laugh too. Then she leans in and adds quietly, "But yes, I've seen them." She offers no further details, just returns to plucking her chicken. You leave with a strange weight on your shoulders. Back at your quarters, you light 2 candles. You search for Giovanni. No sign. You tap on the floorboards where he used to nest. Nothing. You sit on your bed and stare at the beak mask in your lap. The herbs inside are damp now, moldy. You empty it. Replace them. This time you add something new, a sliver of old bone worn smooth. A gift from a dying monk months ago. Said it came from St. Sebastian's shrine. You don't believe in relics. But tonight you make an exception. You go to bed early, and you whisper something different. "Don't come tonight." But you don't know who you're saying it to. You dream in circles. Not lines, not stories, just circles. Spinning wheels, linked hands, eyes without lids. You wake with your fingers clenched so tightly, your nails leave half-moon marks in your palms. There's sweat on your brow and something else, a smell. Rot, number rosemary. Fresh. You sit up slowly. Someone's been in your room. The door is still bolted. Your bag sits untouched. But on your windowsill, neatly arranged in a line, are 5 sprigs of rosemary tied together with red thread. You stare at them for a long time. Then you burn them. Not for superstition, not for purification. You just don't want them watching you. Your gloves go on a little slower this morning. The waxed robe feels heavier, like it's been soaked in wet stone. When you reach for the mask, you hesitate. You touch your neck. No swelling. Good. The mask goes on. You leave the room and step back into the world that isn't sure it wants to be alive anymore. Today, you're not seeing patients. You're counting them. The magistrate has issued a formal order. Every ward must be surveyed and tallied. Someone has to collect names, approximate symptoms, survival chances, and prepare death certificates before the dying. Guess who they picked? You trudge to the records hall. It's a crumbling chapel converted into an office of decay. Shelves of scrolls, ink that smells like mushrooms, a clerk who coughs every time he looks at you. He hands you a fresh parchment tied with blue string. "You'll start in Ward 3, he mutters. "Near the tannery." Of course it's the tannery. You nod and leave, trying not to inhale too deeply. Ward 3 begins where the cobbles start to sink, where the air thickens with glue-boiled leather and failure. It's not even noon, and your mask already reeks of every bad decision you've ever made. You knock at the first door. No answer. You push it open. Inside, 2 corpses, a man and a girl. He's clutching her in the corner. Rigor mortis locked them together like a sculpture. You add 2 lines to the scroll. The next house is worse. 6 people, 1 alive. Maybe. You lean in to check her breath. She startles awake and bites your glove. Hard. You jerk back, falling onto a broken stool. The cane clatters to the floor. The woman stares at you with wild, terrified eyes. Then she blinks. "Doctor," she whispers. You nod, holding your wrist. The bite didn't break skin, but it rattled something deeper. "I thought you were him," she says. "The other one." Your mask tilts. "What other one?" "The Birdman," she murmurs. But his beak drips red. You don't reply. You help her sit up, hand her the last of your water, and tell her she's not alone. Another lie. But she believes it. You write down unstable, monitor, probably contagious. You walk slower after that. Mainstream historical fact. In the late plague years, doctors were increasingly asked to record not just deaths, but pre-deaths, a bureaucratic attempt to predict fatality patterns. It rarely worked, but it made someone somewhere feel better. As you step into another house, fourth one today, you notice something new. Symbols, etched into the wood of the doorframe. Not letters, not numbers. Shapes, circles, linked hands. Your pulse picks up. You glance down the alley. No one. Inside, the room is empty. Just soot and a pile of broken furniture. But on the far wall, scrawled in charcoal, is a single word, Giovanni. You leave immediately. You break the rules and skip the next 3 houses. You find yourself near the cathedral instead, drawn like a rat to stale bread. The priest is there again, the barefoot one who tried to carve fish into stone. Today he's barefoot and shirtless. His chest is marked with soot and ash in a spiral. He sees you. "You've seen him, haven't you?" he calls out. You don't respond. Giovanni walks again. He shouts. Wherever he treads, the bones sing. A child watches from behind a pillar, eyes too old for their face. You turn and leave. No tally this hour. No scrolls. You go to the Montaltos. You're not expected today. But the butler lets you in with a long, silent nod. The house smells better now, less death, more broth. Someone's lit lavender near the stairs. You find her in the sunroom. The little girl. She's sitting up, legs wrapped in a blanket, sipping from a silver cup. Her face is still pale, but her eyes are sharp again. She smiles when she sees you. You didn't come yesterday. I had a list, you say. I know, she replies. He told me. You pause. Who? She shrugs. The one who looks like you, but taller, and his mask is cracked. You crouch slowly beside her. What did he say? She leans in. He said you'd forget your name soon. That's how it starts. You try to smile. She touches your glove. But I remember it. Want me to tell you? You shake your head gently. She shrugs. Okay. But when you forget, ask the rat. You stay longer than you should. You let her talk. About birds and bones and how some nights she dreams in black smoke. You leave her a new sachet of herbs and a clove-stuffed doll someone dropped off last week. As you step back into the street, someone throws a rock at your feet. It clinks. You bend to pick it up. It's not a rock. It's a tooth. Human. You glance up. No one there. Fringe tidbit, some plague doctors, particularly those in Eastern Europe, carried pouches of teeth. Not for healing, but for bargaining. A tooth from a plague survivor was believed to carry protective power. Others believed they could trap the disease inside the enamel like a prison. Medieval logic, flawed but ambitious. You return to your room near dusk. The door is ajar. You freeze. You step in slowly, cane raised. Inside, silence. No signs of forced entry. No missing belongings. Just your scroll unrolled on the desk. And beside it, in perfect handwriting, you've forgotten 5 already. Don't lose track. G. You sit heavily on the stool. You check your scroll. You count the names. It's true. You missed 5. You remember them. You know you do, but the names are gone. You rewrite them. You stare at the page. You whisper them. Then again, you fall asleep at the desk. And for the first time, you dream of nothing, which is worse. You wake with ink on your cheek. It's smudged across your skin in a pattern not unlike a fingerprint. Except it's not yours. You check your hands. Clean. Your quill still capped. The scroll rolled, sealed, tied with black thread now. You didn't tie it. No sign of forced entry. No mess. Just a wax seal at the edge of the scroll, one you've never used. A rat's tail stamped into the wax. You don't open it. You put it in your bag under the herbs. The wind outside sounds like whispers in a dry mouth. You pause by the door, mask in hand, and breathe. You say your name softly, just to hear it aloud. Then once more, louder. Then again, just to be safe. Only then do you slip on the beak. Today you're traveling. The next village has sent word. A courier galloped through the gates at dawn, with his face wrapped in garlic-stuffed cloth, shouting for aid. Their own physician took ill, and then apparently took his own cure by leaping into a well. You're not surprised. You gather your things: mask, scroll, cane, a pouch of dried sage, a flask of vinegar water, a single lemon slice wrapped in wax cloth. The lemon is for show, for hope, for the smell, if things get too real, too fast. Outside, the cart is waiting. 2 guards flank it. Both are armed. One sneezes behind a scarf and glares at you like you're the disease. You sit at the back, facing the road. The gates groan as they open. You leave the city behind, but it doesn't leave you. The landscape stretches out before you. Brown fields, bare trees, skeletal fences. The occasional crow. Sometimes you think they're following you. Sometimes you hope they are. You pass another village on the way, long since dead. Roofs caved in, doors hanging open. A skeleton lies in the center of the road, arms outstretched, like it died waiting for someone who never came. Mainstream historical fact: entire towns vanished during the plague. Some were burned preemptively, others just faded. With no survivors to speak for them, they became ghost names on crumbling maps. You arrive at the afflicted village near midday. It's called San Lupo. You've heard of it. Once famous for its cheese, now it smells like boiled cabbage and panic. People are waiting by the well when you arrive, wide-eyed and quiet. A girl points at your beak and says, "He's back." You choose not to ask. A tall man with soot-streaked cheeks steps forward. "I'm the Reeve," he says. "We lost our doctor, and 3 priests, and the apothecary. We thought you weren't real." "I'm real enough," you say, though your voice sounds hollow in the mask. He nods. "They're in the mill, all the sick. We didn't know where else to keep them." You follow him through the village. They've hung dried garlic from every door. Some have painted circles in tar on the shutters. One door has a drawing of a man in a bird mask with a red X across it. The Reeve catches your glance. "They think you bring it," he mutters, "not cure it." Sometimes you reply, "They're not wrong." The mill is dark, warm, and thick with human breath. Dozens of cots crammed between flour barrels. Most of the sick lie still. A few cough. One sings softly to herself in a broken tune. You walk the rows. You count 16 infected. 5 are already past help. 1 is dead, and no one's noticed yet. You write names as they tell you. A boy holds your hand and asks if you're an angel. You lie and say yes. The miller's wife hands you a pouch of dried mushrooms. "Not for eating," she whispers. "For dreams." You accept it because it's polite, and also because something in her eyes says she'd prefer you didn't say no. Outside, the Reeve begs you to stay the night. You decline. "We have room," he pleads. "A clean space, We'll even wash the bedding. You pause. The bedding. In the end, you agree to stay for a few hours. Rest, if not sleep. You're given a room above the bakery. The baker's son died yesterday. The room is still warm. They've laid out food, cold porridge, a half loaf, 2 cloves of garlic, and a single rose on the tray. You eat the bread. You save the rose. When night falls, you hear them again. Children, laughing somewhere beyond the trees. You rise. You cross to the window. There in the moonlight, just at the edge of the village, 4 children. Dancing. Not together, not joyfully. Wrong. Stiff movements. Heads tilted at impossible angles. One wears a beak mask, but it's made of wood, splintered and too wide. It hangs loose like a second skull. They stop when you see them. One child raises a hand, points at you. Then they scatter. You don't sleep after that. At dawn, you pack your things. The villagers are waiting. You hand them your notes, your counts, your recommendations. Burn the bodies, boil the clothes, close the well. They nod, eyes lowered. The reeve offers you coin. You refuse. Instead, you ask, "Where's your rat catcher?" They blink. "We don't have one," someone says. "Rats left a week ago." You shiver. On the road back, you ride alone. The cart driver is gone, vanished. No blood, no note, no sign of a struggle. You walk the entire way back to the city. It takes 2 days. By the time you return, your feet are blistered, your throat cracked, your mask stained with pollen from wildflowers you never touched. Your room is as you left it, except the scroll. It's unrolled on the desk. 5 new names added. You don't remember writing them. You read them aloud. One twitches on your tongue. Giovanni. You sit. You write it again, just to be sure. But this time your hand doesn't shake. You whisper your own name again. It takes a second longer to come. You don't leave your quarters the next morning. Not because of illness, you check again. No boils, no fever, no blood in the gums. You're still breathing, still remembering your name mostly. But something deeper is cracking. You hear footsteps outside your door. Then nothing. Then the soft scrape of something sliding under it. You wait a full minute before looking. It's a folded note smeared with ash. You unfold it carefully, gloves on. There's a child in the weaver's ward, still alive, asking for you by name. G. You don't remember visiting the weaver's ward recently. You don't remember any child. But you go. Because the moment you ignore these notes, you fear they'll stop coming. And worse, you'll start forgetting more. The city feels different today. Like it's tilting. Like everything's sagging slightly toward the center. People walk faster. No one makes eye contact. Even the beggars have retreated to the shadows. You cross the bridge over the dry canal. You pass a dying horse still saddled, its owner long gone. You don't stop. There's no use. You find the weaver's ward by its smell. Old cloth, mildew, sweat, hope long dried up. The door is half open. Inside, silence broken only by the rhythmic clack of a loom that no one is working. Dust motes swirl in the air like lazy ghosts. There's a child in the back room. She's sitting upright, wrapped in a torn wool shawl. Her face is thin but clear. "You're late," she says. You kneel beside her. "Do you know me?" She nods. "You came last week. You gave my mother a pouch of herbs. You freeze. You didn't come here last week." You told me to wait, she says. So I did. You examine her. No fever, no swelling. You're not sick, you murmur. She shakes her head. Not that way. You pause. Where's your mother? She points to the far corner. There's a pile of blankets there. You lift one. She's gone. Long gone. You glance back at the girl. She said to tell you the rat still watches. He's just waiting for the door to close. You nod slowly. You reach into your pouch and pull out the last piece of dried lemon. You hand it to her. Eat this. Slowly. You'll remember something good. She takes it. Doesn't smile. She whispers, "Don't forget your name." You leave. Outside, the streets are thicker, not with people, with smoke. A building's burning in the distance. The pest house. You don't ask why, you don't want to know. Either it was mercy or fear. Either way, your patients are inside. You pass a woman painting black crosses on her own door. "I want to be prepared," she says to no one. At the apothecary's stall, you pause. Something catches your eye. A jar of dead bees. Labeled simply, protection. You raise an eyebrow. The apothecary shrugs. "They sting the devil," he mutters. You move on. At the square, you're stopped by a city official in full robes. He's sweating profusely despite the cool breeze. You recognize him barely. One of the magistrate's lesser assistants. "You're to report for inventory," he wheezes. "They're accounting for medical personnel. Reassigning by zone." You consider refusing. He sees it in your eyes. There's talk, he adds, that you've gone off books. Your cane taps once on the stone between you. He flinches. "Zone 3, he says quickly. "South wall. They want numbers." You go. Zone 3 is filth, half burned, half flooded. Nothing but fishermen plague carts and people who've given up pretending to be people. You count the dead. You poke the sick. You write the names. One man begs you to stay. "I've seen the others," he whispers. "The ones in masks. But their eyes glow. Yours don't." You make no promises. You move on. Mainstream historical fact. Not all plague doctors stayed in one place. Many were reassigned by town councils to different districts, rotated like livestock. It was as much about appearances as effectiveness. If you kept looking like you were doing something, maybe people wouldn't riot. You stop at a collapsed chapel for shade. Inside, a figure kneels before the shattered altar. It's the barefoot priest again. Shirtless still, covered in ash. "Confess," he says without turning. "I have nothing to confess." Then you've already forgotten. You leave. On your way back through the winding alleys, you hear singing. You know the tune now. Children's voices. Out of sync. Too slow. Like a record turned by hand. You don't look. You just walk faster. Back at your room, there's another scroll waiting. This one isn't sealed. You unroll it. It's your writing. You don't remember writing it, but it's your hand. Each line is a name. Each name has a black ink circle beside it. Some names are crossed out. Others are underlined. Some have no marks at all. At the bottom, scrawled in slanted ink, the names you forget don't disappear. They remember you. You sit very still. You light a candle, then another. You speak your name again. It takes longer this time. You whisper it until it sounds like someone else's. Then you sleep. You dream of rats wearing robes. You awaken to chanting. low, rhythmic like a distant drum hidden beneath soil and centuries. It vibrates in your teeth before it registers in your ears. You sit up bleary-eyed and realize the candle you left burning has melted into the desk. The scroll is gone. In its place, a single black feather. You've never seen a crow that size. You touch your mask's beak on instinct, half expecting it to chirp or twitch. Nothing. But the feather, it smells of smoke, not fire. Ritual smoke, myrrh, pine, clove oil burned too long over coals. You keep it. You tuck it into your pouch beside the lemon rind and the scribbled note from the child in Ward 3. You dress like it's your last day. Not because you plan to die, just because it feels like something's ending. The robe clings to your back. The gloves are stiff. The herbs in the beak are wilted bitter. You add fresh sage and a dried orange peel, something sweet to confuse the dead air. You step outside and the street hits you like a wool. It's not just sickness now. It's smoke, ash, and something else, fear. Raw, unsettled, crawling fingernails down glass, fear. A man stumbles past you, shirtless, eyes wild. They're burning the dead too soon, he yells at no one. Too soon, they breathe still. He vanishes around the corner, leaving a trail of red footprints. No one chases him. The magistrate's runners pass next, cloaked and hurried. They avoid eye contact. One drops a scroll. You pick it up, read only the header. Mandate 11C, accelerated removal and cleansing. Translation, burn, first question later. You slip the scroll into your satchel, just to keep up with the lies. Your first call today is at the Potter's house. She's a widow, quiet, known for shaping urns so smooth mourners cry harder just touching them. You knock. No answer. You push open the door. Inside, clay everywhere. Pots stacked, scattered, shattered. A small kiln smolders in the corner, unlit. The air smells like wet dirt and regret. You find her in the back, slumped over her wheel. Still. Her hands are caked with half-dried clay. A small figure sits unfinished on the wheel, a beaked mask, carefully sculpted, paused mid-gesture. You touch her neck, cold. You look again at the clay figure. It's you. You collect her name, mark her scroll. Then you do something you haven't done before. You finish the sculpture. Not well. Your hands are clumsy, but it stands now. And for a moment, the room feels warmer. You move on. Your next stop is worse. The tanner's apprentice. Young, eager. Died yesterday, they said. When you arrive, the tanner greets you at the door. He's pale, shaking. He won't stay down, he whispers. You raise an eyebrow behind the mask. He's cold, the man continues, but his eyes move. I swear it. He looks at me. You enter. The boy lies on a slab, eyes open, unblinking. A bubo has ruptured on his shoulder, leaving a crater of blackened skin. You lean close. You whisper, "If you hear me, blink." Nothing. You touch his hand. Ice. Still. You mark his chart. Collect, observe. Do not burn. The tanner thanks you, then asks what happens if he stands. You look him dead in the eye. Run. Mainstream historical fact. The dead were sometimes misclassified during mass plague events. Comas, shallow breath, stiff paralysis, all could be mistaken for death in haste. Tales of the risen dead often had less to do with folklore and more to do with medical failure. But other tales, those weren't as easy to explain. You pass through the meat market on your way back. It's not open. but it's busy. The butchers have repurposed the stalls as cremation prep. A woman boils rags in pig fat. A boy uses a cleaver to break bone, not meat. Somewhere nearby, someone's singing. The same tune. Children's voices. Ring the circle, hold your breath. Touch the mask and wait for death. You don't look. Instead, you walk to the edge of the city. There's a quarantine house there. You remember it because you helped mark the doors weeks ago. Now the paint is faded, but the smell is fresh. Inside corpses, neatly arranged, wrapped, tagged, but each with something extra. Coins over the eyes, some with teeth in their hands. One clutches a child's shoe. You check the register nailed to the wall. Only 15 names. There are 22 bodies. You underline that. As you leave, someone calls your name, softly, from the rafters. You turn. No one. But above the doorframe, scratched into the wood, is your name, and beside it, already forgotten. You walk back through alleys that look unfamiliar. You swear they weren't there before. You pass a shop with boarded windows, but fresh footprints at the threshold. A single word carved into the door, Giovanni. You don't knock. You just keep walking. At your quarters, a parcel waits, wrapped in black cloth tied with waxed twine. You open it. Inside, a child's drawing. Crude. A figure in a beaked mask, standing in a ring of dancing children. Each child has no face. Behind the masked figure, something enormous looms. Not a person, not a rat. Something else. Your name is written beneath the drawing, except it's not your name. It's the one you almost forgot. And it's misspelled. You crumple the page and throw it in the fire. It doesn't burn. It just blackens and curls like it's made of old skin. Fringe tidbit. In some towns, drawings like these were nailed to doors, supposedly to ward off plague spirits, or invite them. Some scholars argue they were meant to honor the dead. Others think they were messages, not for the living. You sleep that night with the mask on, just in case. You wake once around midnight. Someone knocks. Once, then silence. The knock lingers, not as sound, but as a presence. You sit upright in bed, beaked mask still strapped to your face. You didn't mean to fall asleep with it on, but the smell of bitter herbs is oddly comforting now. Like a filter between you and everything else that's fraying. You stand. The candle has burned to its root, casting long shadows that jitter across the walls. Your door is still bolted, your windows still shut, but something feels less sealed. You wait. The knock doesn't return. You inch to the door and press your gloved hand against it. Cold. You whisper your name, quietly. It still comes, though there's a delay, like your own mind is flipping through pages to find it. You open the door. No one. Just the hallway, dim and thick with that "we're not alone" silence. On the floor is another note. This one's different. Folded sharp. Inked with red, not black. It feels warm in your hand, like it remembers who wrote it. Night curfew reinstated. All movement prohibited after 9 bells. Violators to be collected. By order of the council. You look up and down the hall. You don't remember seeing a council sigil like that before, 2 rats biting each other's tails. You pocket the note, then check your satchel. The scroll is still there, unrolled slightly. New names have appeared. 7. You didn't write them. They're in your handwriting, but not your memory. You get dressed. You don't bother changing herbs today. You let the beak reek. It keeps people away. It might keep something else away, too. You step outside. The streets are quieter than usual. Not empty, just measured, like everyone's timing their movements. You spot two old women pacing beside the well, heads down, mouths moving silently. A boy is drawing circles on the ground in chalk. They all stop when they see you, then continue, as if nothing happened. You head toward the river district. That's where today's summons came from, an anonymous mark on your door, a line with 3 dots. You've seen it once before on the hand of a man who'd gone catatonic in a chapel pew. The river is lower than it should be. Muddy, not flowing. The bodies in the water aren't floating anymore. They're sinking and bloating beneath the surface. You catch glimpses of swollen arms, tangled hair, scraps of once fine robes. You don't stop. At the edge of the river stands a guard post, barely a shack, really. One guard remains, or what's left of one. His helmet is filled with something wet and humming. The rest of him is folded over a barrel. You step around the mess and into the shack, inside a map, carved into the floor, with bones. Ribs for roads, vertebrae for bridges, little white teeth for houses. At the center, a rat skull. You bend down and gently remove it. Beneath it, carved into the wood, tonight. 9 bells. Don't answer the knock. You don't stay to question it. You head back toward the central quarter where the sick nobles live, where the wine still flows, and the curtains stay drawn, and the rich pray behind gold-laced masks. You're stopped at the edge by a cloaked man. His face is hidden, his fingers long and gloved in blue, a rare color here. "You're the doctor," he says. It's not a question. You nod. He hands you a list. It's printed, inked, official. Each name is someone you know, all marked for removal. You scan the list. Lord Montalto, the little girl, the butcher's wife, the boy from the weaver's ward. You whisper. It's already begun. You look up. The man is gone. You crumple the list and stuff it into your pouch. You feel your pulse pounding behind your eyes. It's too fast, too hot. You check your neck. Still smooth, still safe. You run to the Montalto house. The butler opens the door before you knock. "She's waiting for you," he says softly. You rush upstairs. She's sitting upright, smiling. "Did you bring the rats?" You freeze. "What, they were supposed to come. You promised." "I didn't." She shakes her head. "In the dream, you said they'd dance first. Then you'd take us away." You approach slowly. "You're not sick anymore." "No," she agrees. "But that doesn't matter now. They're collecting the saved, too." You touch her wrist. "Steady." "I'm going to stop this," you whisper. She leans forward. "You can't stop it. You are it." You leave shaken. Outside, the bells begin to ring. Not the usual 3 or 5 or 7. 9. Early. Too early. They ring fast, panicked, not ceremonial. You're not the only one who notices. People emerge from homes, from stalls, from behind carts and alleyways. All look up, then down the road, to the city gates. They're open. No guards. Nothing. And walking through them, figures. Not many. Maybe a dozen. All in black robes. All in beaked masks. But wrong. Too tall, too slow. They glide. And the one in front, his mask is cracked, the same way the girl described. You back away. The bells stop. The crowd doesn't move. Someone to your left whispers, "They're here for the names." You start to run, back through alleys, back toward your quarters. You reach your door just as the 9th bell chimes its final note. You lock it, bolt it, brace a chair under the handle. You sit. You check the scroll. 5 names gone. Just gone. Ink vanished. Empty spaces where they should be. You whisper them, but they won't come. Then a knock. Just once. Slow. Heavy. You don't move. You don't breathe. Another knock. This time a child's voice follows "Doctor. Are you in?" And you whisper back, "No." And the voice giggles. Footsteps recede. You wait. Hours. You sleep upright, mask on. When dawn breaks, you rise. You open the door. A drawing is pinned to it. Your mask. But cracked. And underneath it, name forgotten. One of us now. You stare at the drawing for a long time. It's crude, childish, yes, but there's detail in the wrong places. The beak on the mask is flared too wide. The eyes, empty ovals, are scribbled completely black, like someone pressed the charcoal down until the paper nearly tore. But it's what's under the mask that draws you in. A face, or what should be a face. A hollow curve where a mouth ought to be. A swirling line where the nose would sit. And across the forehead, a single word jaggedly scrawled, the ink smudged as if the writer had started shaking while writing it. Remember. You run a gloved hand over the parchment. The ink smears. It doesn't smell like charcoal. It smells like burnt herbs and bile. You take it down. You don't burn it this time. You fold it once precisely and tuck it into your satchel beside the others. The pouch is starting to bulge, full of names, notes, objects that aren't quite yours. It's heavy, not in weight, in consequence. You leave your quarters before you can second guess it. The city is different today. Worse somehow. Not because there are more bodies. Not because the plague has changed. It's the atmosphere, like the very stones beneath your feet are whispering. The children are gone. No laughter. No songs. The old woman who sells onions at the corner has vanished. The blind man who used to ask you if he was glowing yet is nowhere to be found. Even the rats are scarce. You stop by the square. Someone has drawn a large circle in the dirt. At each cardinal point, a tooth, human, cleaned, and in the center scrawled again, "Remember." You feel like you're being herded. You try the cathedral. The doors are locked. The priest, gone. Ash smudges where he used to sit. You check the walls for carvings. The fish he once etched is now gone, replaced by a spiral. Not a perfect spiral. A finger-dragged one. Done in something darker than ink. You move faster. The pest house is still burning, smoldering. No one's putting it out. Black smoke curls lazily into the air, like it's bored with dying. At the edge of the flames, you see a shape. Small, motionless. You step closer. It's Giovanni, the rat. Or a rat like him, curled in the ash. Stiff, but in his paws a thread. Red, frayed. You bend to touch it and find it leads to a line of footprints in the soot. tiny, barefoot, children's. You follow them. They take you down past the butcher's alley, past the fish stalls, through the dried-up canal tunnel, and into the old infirmary, the one that was sealed weeks ago. You push the door open. It creaks louder than it should. Inside, silence. No patients, no clerics, just beds, perfectly made. Each bed has a doll on it, handmade, stuffed, all dressed in black, all wearing tiny beaked masks. You count them. 12. One for each of the figures that passed through the gate. You walk to the last bed. Its doll has no mask. Its head is just cloth. Drawn onto it, a spiral, and a single word stitched with black thread into the chest, your name. Except not quite. One letter is wrong. You reach to touch it. A whisper fills the room, don't? You turn. A figure stands at the door. Blue gloves, cloaked. The man who gave you the list. You weren't supposed to see this, he says. You don't answer. He walks forward, slow, controlled. You've been exceeding your function, he says. I heal, you reply. No, he says. You tally, you record, you collect, but you've been doing more. He gestures at your satchel. All those names you tried to keep, all those you tried to remember. He stops in front of you. You've been writing them in the wrong book. You feel it then, the weight of the satchel. It's not a bag anymore. It's a ledger. You don't remember when it changed. You open it. Inside the scrolls, yes, the letters. But they're different. Ink moves on its own. Names fade. Some reappear. One is glowing, faintly. It's the girl from Ward 3. You touch her name. It burns. The man tilts his head. You're part of it now, fully. You shake your head. No. You think the mask was a shield. He laughs softly. It was the invitation. You run. You don't remember the path. You just move. Until you're at the Montalto house. You burst through the door. The butler tries to stop you. You shove past him. You reach the girl's room. It's empty. The bed is made. On the pillow, a sachet of herbs. And the doll you gave her. Except now, it's wearing a beaked mask. A small scroll is tied to its hand. You untie it with shaking fingers. Thank you for trying. But I remembered, and they took me anyway. You stagger back. You want to scream, but you don't. You walk out of the house slowly, back into the fog. You pass the fishmonger's stall. A single tooth hangs from a string. You pass the priest's steps. A robe lies folded neatly. You reach your room. It's unlocked. Inside on your writing desk, a single item waits. Your beaked mask, but cracked. And beneath it, etched into the wood in fresh black time to forget. You try to speak your name. Nothing comes, just air. And behind you in the hall, a knock. 3 times, slow, final. You don't open the door. You don't move. You sit still in your chair, hands locked around your knees, staring at the cracked beak mask lying on your writing desk like it's something dead. The crack runs down the snout, splitting it as neatly as a fault line. A quiet, mocking reminder of who passed through that gate. Another knock. This one softer. Not demanding. Almost polite. Like it already knows you're inside. Already knows your name. The name you can't quite say anymore. You mouth it. again. Just your first name this time. Nothing. Your throat tightens. You clench your fists, nails digging into the stiff fabric of your gloves. You whisper again, slower, each syllable an effort. Something almost rises, but it dissolves before it reaches your lips. You're forgetting, and the knock isn't helping. So you answer it. Door still bolted, you lean close and whisper no. The hallway answers back, not with words, but with a sound, a giggle, childlike, familiar, but too dry, too slow, like it's being dragged across the vocal cords of something not meant to laugh. You step away from the door, and the candle on your desk goes out, just snuffs itself. No breeze, no movement. You're alone, and not alone. So you leave, not to run, not to fight. You leave to understand. You need answers, even if you're afraid of them, especially because you're afraid of them. And there's only one place left to find them. The ghetto, the walled quarter beyond the eastern gates, where the city's Jewish population was confined after the council declared them plague risks. You've avoided it until now. Everyone has. Not by decree, but by tension, fear, lies. But you remember one man, a scholar. He wore a blue sash and no mask, and once handed you a lemon when you passed him during your first week in the city. He said, when everyone else loses their tongues, we still have ink. You hope he's still alive. The walk to the ghetto is oddly unimpeded. No guards, no patrols. Just shuttered houses and wilted herbs hanging from lintels like dead snakes. The eastern gates are ajar. You slip through. The ghetto is quiet but not abandoned. Children peek through cracks in doorways. Lanterns burn inside upper windows. Chalk symbols decorate nearly every doorframe, many of them Hebrew letters, some spirals, some eyes, some just circles with slashes through them. You knock at the fourth house. Nothing. The fifth. A child answers. She stares at you without fear. You came too late, she says. For who? She opens the door wider. Inside, a room filled with books, and a body, sitting upright, dead but posed, carefully arranged in a chair. Scroll in one hand, a feather quill in the other. You recognize him, the scholar, still wearing the blue sash. The scroll in his hand is open. You step forward. The child doesn't stop you. You read. It's not in Latin, not Hebrew, not Greek. The language is unfamiliar, archaic, curved, almost serpentine. But the drawings beside it are clearer. A city surrounded by rats. A figure in black with a long beak. A spiral spreading from his feet. At the edge of the scroll, a single phrase in jagged Latin. The doctor is not the cure. He is the carrier. You step back. Your breath catches in your throat. You look at the scholar's hand again. Between his fingers, a drawing. You pull it free. Another mask. Another beak. But this time, beneath the figure, yours. You look up. The child is gone. So is the door. You're alone. You hear something skitter. Not across the floorboards. Inside the walls. You step into the street. The ghetto is different now. It's darker, tighter. The buildings seem to lean in. You walk fast, faster. You cross the gate again, back into the city, and find it changed. The streets are empty, not quiet empty. No smoke, no carts, no corpses. No people, just absence. And then the bells ring. 9. You check the sky. It's not night. It's barely past noon. And yet the bells ring loud and fast as if trying to chase something off. You run, not toward safety, toward proof. You reach the square. The circle of teeth is larger now, doubled. And in the center, a figure. Not one of the 12 from before. This one is smaller, child-sized, wearing a black robe, a beak mask. But underneath the robes, a doll's hands, stuffed linen. Someone made a new one, and this one's holding something, a bone. You step closer. It's a jawbone, human. Scrawled along the curve of it, scratched in with some sharp implement. If you want to live, forget. You turn. You flee. Back to your quarters. The walls blur. The streets twist. But you find your door. You lock it. Bolt it. And this time you don't sit. You reach under your bed and pull out the box, the one you said you'd never open again. Inside, your first robe, unwashed. Your first scroll, still blank. Your first letter of appointment, the fake one. You read it now, and for the first time you realize the ink isn't yours. The seal isn't real. The name on the line, it's not even close to yours. It never was. Historians still argue whether plague doctors were hired as healers or simply inserted as state-sanctioned placeholders, figures meant to keep order, not cure. Some were imposters, others were scapegoats, but a rare few were something else entirely. You drop the letter, you whisper your name, still nothing. But this time, you feel someone whisper it back. From inside the satchel, from the cracks in the floor, from the mask on the desk. You turn slowly. The cracked beak mask is upright now. You didn't touch it. And inside it, a feather. Black, fresh, still warm. You don't touch the feather. You stare at it for a full minute, heart crawling up your throat, listening for a sound that doesn't come. Nothing rustles. Nothing skitters. But the silence isn't empty, it's expectant, as though the air is leaning in, waiting for you to move. Eventually you do. Gloved fingers trembling, you reach into the cracked mask and lift the feather out. It resists. Just for a second. Like something unseen is holding on to it. Then it slips free. You turn it in your hand. The edges glisten wet, though there's no moisture in the room. The barbs are too long, the shaft slightly curved. Not a crow's feather, not a raven's. This belonged to something bigger or older. Etched into the side so faint you almost miss it is a single letter G. You don't know if it's for Giovanni or you or something else. You tuck it into the pouch. It's not full anymore. You didn't take anything out. But some of the names are gone. You check the scroll. 7 more names erased. The paper beneath them singed, curling at the edges, like someone set fire to a memory. You whisper one aloud, one of the lost. Your throat tightens. Your tongue goes slack. No sound. You try another. Nothing. You feel your identity thinning like the air in a sealed room. You're unraveling. Not fast, but steadily. Precisely. The way a city dies before it knows it's dying. You look in the cracked mirror above your desk. The mask stares back. But your eyes... You blink. And for just a second, the eyes behind the beak aren't yours. They're black, reflective, empty. You step back. Your hand hits the pouch. It hums. You need answers, not dreams, not riddles, not rats. And there's only one place you haven't dared to go. The tower, at the edge of the plague wall, where the first physician was sealed, where the magistrate once sent doctors who acted against protocol, where the sick were sometimes dragged, not escorted. You heard the stories. Some say the tower is haunted. Others say it's home base. You were told never to go. So naturally, you do. You move through the alleys like a rumor. The city no longer looks like itself. Familiar streets now end in blind alleys. Market stalls have turned into shrines. The sky is a flat, pale gray that never changes no matter the hour. You pass a butcher's door painted entirely in blood. A spinning wheel left abandoned, still turning. A dog sleeping beside a human skull like it's a pillow. You arrive at the tower just after sunset. It's taller than you remember, and wrong. Somehow, wrong. The stone looks damp even in the dry air. Its surface is mottled like the skin of a plague victim, veined with black lichen and streaked with soot. At the base, a door. No handle, no lock. Just a spiral carved into the center, filled in with something thick and red. As you approach, it opens, not with creaking or resistance. It opens eagerly, like it was waiting. Inside it smells of herbs, vinegar, burnt wax, and something else, something metallic. You descend the steps. They spiral downward, always down. You lose track of how many turns you take. 12, 30, 100, the walls are lined with bones, not just scattered, arranged, decorated. A skull with a painted mask, a femur carved into a flute, a child's jawbone split down the middle with your own name scratched into the enamel. Your real name. You run your fingers across the letters. They tremble beneath your touch. At the base of the stairs, a room. Stone. Perfectly circular. Candles line the edges. And in the center, a man, or what's left of one. He sits in a chair of bone wearing a plague doctor's robe so old it's more mold than fabric. His beak mask is fused to his skull. You can see bone through the cracks. One eye socket glows faintly. He doesn't move, but he speaks. I remember you. You freeze. You're not supposed to be here, he continues. Not yet. I've lost my name, you say. You gave it away, he corrects. You offered it. When you put on the mask, you touch your own beak. It was just for protection. No, he says, it was for permission. You step forward. What are you, he chuckles. I'm what's left when too many names are forgotten, when too many memories rot, when the cure fails and the ledger survives. He gestures to the floor. You look down. It's not stone. It's parchment. Endless scrolls layered like scales, each covered in names. Some are crossed out. Some are circled. Some glow faintly, then vanish as you watch. You kneel. One of the names is yours, the real one. You reach for it. The figure leans forward. If you take it, he says, you remember everything. And if I don't, you forget everything. A pause. You become me. You stare at your name. You think of the little girl, the butcher's wife, the child in the weaver's ward, the rat, the beak, the feather. You stand. I'm not ready, then you'll return, he says. They always do. You walk back up the spiral. No resistance. just silence. And as you step out of the tower, something changes. The air, the sky, the city is back to normal. Almost. Too normal. As if it's pretending. You whisper your name, and it comes slow but whole. You smile, but it fades when you check your satchel. The scroll is blank. Again. The scroll is blank, not erased, not burned, not smudged, just clean, like it never held a single name. Like the dozens, no hundreds you've written were never there at all. Not even ghost ink left behind. You flip it over, back and forth. You hold it up to the light. Run your gloved hand across it, as if texture might betray memory. But it's smooth, pristine, as if daring you to start again. You stare at it, your mind half empty, half overflowing. A paradox in flesh and fabric. And then it hits you. If this scroll is blank, what have you been carrying? You tear open the satchel. The smaller scrolls, letters, notes, slips, they're all there. But now they're stitched together with red thread, not tied. Stitched. Sewn end to end into a long, grotesque banner of memory. You unravel it carefully, foot by foot, until the entire length spans your narrow quarters wall to wall. Names, sketches, teeth impressions, wax seals from towns you've never heard of. And at the very end, your face, drawn, charcoal on parchment, robe, gloves, mask. But the eyes beneath the beak, a hollow blackness that moves when you blink. You step back. The room darkens, though no candle dies. A sound rises in your ears, not a scream, a scribble. The scratch of quill against skin, of names being etched into flesh. You snap the satchel shut, rolling the stitched scroll back into a tight coil. You don't know why. Instinct, maybe, or fear. Then you bolt. You're in the streets again, mask on, heart racing. But something is wrong. You're not recognized. People pass you without flinching. No one bows. No one spits. No one whispers crow under their breath or draws a circle in the air. They just look past you, through you. You grab a woman by the arm. "Where is the magistrate?" She frowns. Which one? The one in black robes, with the beak mask. Her eyes go cold. "That's not funny," she says, and walks away. You approach a merchant. "The plague doctor, where is he?" The merchant raises an eyebrow. There hasn't been one in weeks, not since they burned the tower. You freeze. What tower? He blinks at you like you've asked what a cloud is. The tower at the edge. You know, the one they built for the masked physicians. We burned it. You don't remember. You don't respond. You just back away. Everywhere you turn, the world has rewritten itself. People walk freely. Vendors sell meat again. Children play, they sing, and the song has changed. Circle tight, the crows won't bite. Name the name and snuff the light. It ends with laughter, but not mockery. Affection. You stumble back to the Montalto house. No guards, no markings, just a quiet estate. You knock. A young servant answers. "Is the girl here?" you ask, trying to steady your voice. He hesitates. "Which girl?" "The one in the sunroom, pale, coughing. I treated her." He furrows his brow. "Doctor, no one's lived in this house for years." He steps aside, opens the door. It's empty. No rugs, no furniture. No curtains. Just a shell. As if the memories had packed themselves and left without telling you. You stagger out. Down the alley. Past the butcher's. The chapel, all hollow, all too clean. Until you reach the well. At the edge of the square. There's a crowd there. Gathered. Silent. You move toward them, pushing gently through the people. And then you see it. A man bound at the wrists, kneeling at the well's edge. Above him stands a figure in black robes. Beaked mask, tall, cracked down the center. Exactly like yours. Your blood chills. The figure raises a scroll, reads a name aloud. The crowd murmurs in agreement. The kneeling man screams once before he's pushed into the well. Silence follows. Then another is brought forward. You open your mouth to protest, but no one sees you. No one hears. You shout your name. Nothing. You look down. Your shadow isn't cast. The bells ring again, but not from the tower. From inside you, deep, metallic, rhythmic. You turn desperate and run, back through the twisting alleys, past doorways and open shutters, until you find yourself back at the tower, unburned, whole, waiting. The door opens again. You enter, descend, this time faster. No bones on the wall, just masks, lined neatly, each one identical, each one yours. You reach the bottom, the circle room, empty now, except a single robe, laid across the floor like a skin, and a scroll, not yours, but written in your hand. You read it. If you're reading this, you are already forgotten. Your name is now a mask, your duty memory, and your payment. Silence. You drop the scroll, but the floor catches it. The parchment sinks slightly, like it's turning into the stone itself. You try to speak. Still nothing. You tear off the mask. Your voice returns barely. I remember. You try again. I remember a hand lands on your shoulder. You spin. The figure from the well, beaked, tall, cracked. He lifts a mirror, shows you your face, and it's his, yours, no longer hidden, but not human. Your eyes black, reflective, empty, and yet calm. The figure whispers at last, "Welcome, doctor. The ledger needs you. The room accepts you. It doesn't embrace, it absorbs." The candles flicker once and go out, not extinguished, just gone. The darkness that follows isn't pitch black. It's soft, warm, velvety. The kind that closes your eyes for you until you realize you're no longer using them anyway. You try to step back. The floor doesn't allow it. Your boots remain rooted soles fused to memory, to ritual, to whatever this is. The figure before you, your reflection, your echo, your future, doesn't move. He only is. Cracked beak, tall frame, hands folded in the posture of those who no longer pray because they've been answered. Not with salvation, with function. You whisper no. It sounds like parchment tearing. The figure tilts its head, the same way you do when you examine a patient too far gone. He raises a hand and points behind you. You turn. The wall has shifted. It's no longer stone. It's glass. Or reflection. You see the city through it, but not as it is, as it was. Bustling, vibrant, children laughing, market bells ringing, windows flung open to fresh air and arguments about garlic prices. No red crosses on the doors, no beak masks, no ash. Then in the reflection, a figure appears. You. Not now, you. Then you. Early, clean, hopeful. You recognize the way you stand, the way you held the cane like it meant something. That version walks down the street, stops beside a crying woman, kneels, touches her hand. The crowd gathers. Someone spits. Someone else throws a stone. It hits your shoulder. You remember that. You remember that. That's when the turning began. The glass ripples. The woman slumps. A red flower blooming on her neck. People scream. You step back from the reflection. It follows. Another version of you enters the frame, and another. Some running, some crawling. One dancing with children around a well, singing that song again. Touch the name and take the face, stitch the mask, and know your place. The figure beside you. Cracked beak, he raises one hand. In his palm a scroll. Not paper, skin, human, stretched taut, inked in blood. Your name at the top. Dozens of others below it. Some crossed out, some glowing faintly. One still wet. You step closer. The wet name is the child from the weaver's ward. You reach out instinctively. Cracked beak blocks you with a single slow movement. He points again upward. You understand. There's still time. Time to climb. Time to fight. Or pretend to. So you run. Up the spiral steps again. 2 at a time. The air thick, dry, humming. You reach the top. The door doesn't open. You crash into it. Once. Twice. On the third try, it vanishes. You spill into the street. It's night now. The wrong kind. The false kind. The sky has no stars. Just darkness stitched together with dim threads of red light, like veins behind a thin eyelid. You are alone. Not a soul in the city. But the bells ring again. 9 times. 9. Always 9. You move. Through the alleyways past the bakers, now silent and sealed. You see the drawings again. Childlike. Everywhere. On walls, doors even etched into the cobblestones. Circles. Masks. Rats. You. Over and over. You find your way without knowing how to the burial grounds. The plague pits. Only now they're not pits. They're open. Empty. No bodies. Just names. Scrawled into the dirt. Row after row. You walk among them. Some fade as you approach. Others bloom with new letters. The earth remembers. The earth records. You find her name. The girl still there. Faint but present. You kneel, touch it. And everything shudders. The ground ripples, like a drum being struck from below. Then a hand bursts from the soil, small, pale, reaching. You grab it, pull, too late. The ground swallows her again, and in her place a scroll, wrapped in red thread. You pick it up, unfurl it, inside her handwriting. It's okay, I remembered for you. You sob or laugh. It's hard to tell. The wind rises, carrying ashes, petals, whispers, and then you hear your name, your true name. From behind. You turn. The cracked beak figure stands beneath the arch of the cemetery gate. He doesn't move. He doesn't need to. You understand. There is no outside this, no after this. You've seen too much, tried too hard, remembered too long. He lifts a hand, not to beckon, to bless, as if to say, welcome. You whisper, no, not today. And for the first time, he hesitates, then lowers his hand. He disappears, like a flame into fog. You wake up, in your room, sitting at your desk, the satchel beside you, the scroll before you, and one name on the parchment. Yours. Spelled perfectly. You say it aloud. It comes easily. You smile, then frown, because something's missing. You open the satchel. The stitched scrolls are gone. The drawings, gone. The feather, still there. Still warm. You whisper, "Not yet," and from under your bed, a quiet giggle, then silence. You don't look under the bed. You want to. The sound, it's still lingering like the smell of burnt feathers or vinegar in the corners of your mask. But instinct keeps your eyes up your spine stiff, your hand on the cane even indoors. Because if you look, you might see it. Or worse, nothing at all. You move slowly. First the gloves, peeled off finger by finger. Then the robe stiff and sour with old sweat and dried herbs. The mask last. You hold it in your lap for a long while, staring at it. It doesn't blink. You've checked. But your reflection in its glass lenses is twitching half a second too late. You cover the mask with a cloth and set it aside. It's time for honesty. You light 3 candles, one for the past, one for the living, one for the ones you couldn't remember in time. You sit, roll out the new scroll, the clean one, and dip your pen in fresh ink. You write a name, not yours, not today. You start with the girl from Ward 3, then the butcher's wife, the child who drew the cracked mask, the apprentice who blinked after death. You write them all, the ones they erased, the ones the parchment swallowed in silence. As you write, the letters stay. No vanishing, no glowing, no curling ash. They hold, like roots in soil. You let out a slow breath. Then you whisper again, "I remember you." The candle meant for the forgotten flutters. You don't notice the shadows drawing closer behind you. Not yet. Someone knocks, not at your door, at the window. You freeze. Your room is on the 2nd floor. You stand slowly, walk to the window. You know what you'll see, but seeing it still bruises something deep inside you. It's her, the little girl. Not as she was sick, pale, fragile, but clean, calm. Dressed in a black robe with a perfect mask in her hands. Not on her face. In her hands. She holds it like a gift or a warning. She doesn't speak, but she gestures to you. Down. To the street below. And you see them. Dozens. Black robes. Gloved hands. Beaked masks. All waiting silently. All facing your window. No torches. No shouting. Just presence. You blink once. They don't. You blink again. They raise their hands, and each one is holding a scroll, rolled tight, bound with red thread. One of them lifts his hand higher and lets the scroll fall open. From this distance, you can still read the name. It's yours. Spelled perfectly. Circled 3 times. You close the curtain and collapse back into your chair. You stare at your parchment. The ink still glistens. Still wet. Still loyal. But not enough. Because it's not just about remembering them anymore. It's about remembering you. You open your satchel, reach for the ledger that used to be a scroll. It resists. It knows. You grip it tighter, whisper your name again, then louder still, until your throat burns and your breath catches and your vision blurs with effort. And finally, the scroll answers. The ink rises, shapes form, a new page unfolds. On it, a symbol, not a name, a circle broken at the top, a spiral in the center, and one word beneath it, reversal. You don't know what it means, but you cling to it like it's your final lungful of air. You grab your robe, pull it on. The gloves, the cane, the mask last. You stuff the cracked one in the satchel, replace it with the first mask. Unblemished. The one you wore when all this began. It fits differently now. Tighter. Smaller. Like it knows you're not who you were. You leave your quarters, and the city is full again, but not with life. With them. The masked ones. The silent ones. The ones who carry names in scrolls you'll never see. They don't move. They wait. Until you appear. Then they bow. Every one. Low. Deep. Respectful. As if to say, you chose to remember. So we cannot take you. You walk past them, through the square, through the plague pits, back to the tower. The door is open, waiting. You descend. No bones this time, no masks, just stone, bare, honest. The spiral room greets you with stillness. No throne, no figure, just your own reflection in the floor. But this time, it smiles. You walk to the center, set down your satchel. Open it. You take the cracked mask in both hands, raise it high, then press it flat to the floor. It cracks further, splinters, shatters. The spiral on the floor begins to glow softly, like a dying coal remembering how to burn. You whisper your name again, and this time the spiral answers in every forgotten tongue. Every lost letter, every child's voice that sang you into history. It echoes your name until it's no longer a name but a signal. And from the spiral light, blinding, white then gold then nothing, you wake up in your room, no robe, no mask, no satchel. Just a scroll on your desk, unrolled, filled with names, all of them intact. Yours at the top. And below it in small, perfect writing, "Well done, doctor." But memory is fragile. Rest. Then begin again. You exhale. The air smells clean. You open the window. Children laugh in the street. No masks, no black robes, just sun. But on the windowsill, a feather, not black. White, perfect, still warm. You hold the feather in your hand and close the window. Not in fear, just caution. The laughter outside is too perfect, too bright. It drips like syrup, not music. You've learned to question anything that feels that clean. The feather isn't like the others. It's not a crow's or a rat's, or the larger oily things the masked ones left behind. This one is smooth, almost silky, and glowing faintly at the edge like it's catching sunlight no longer present. If you sniff it, and you do, it smells faintly of clove and milk. A strange scent for something that just rewrote you. You set it on your desk. It twitches once. Just once. Then lies still. You don't know if you're cured or cursed at a higher frequency. You do know what you need now. You need out. Not from the room, from the city. This city. You've been here too long. Your bones hum with its architecture. You've memorized the cracks in its walls, the rhythm of its death bells, the lies it breathes through chimneys. You've worn its uniform, spoken its tongue, absorbed its grief, and now it's in you. But maybe there's still an edge, a border, a way out. Packing is easy. You take very little. No robe, no cane, just a blank scroll, a bottle of ink, 3 cloves, 1 lemon rind, and the white feather. You keep the satchel, though it's lighter than ever, but it feels like a scar you're allowed to carry. You leave at dusk. The city is quieter now, like it knows you're trying to sneak out. The alleys don't echo. The shutters are already closed. The cobblestones don't creak underfoot, not even the loose ones you memorized years ago. You walk through the fishmonger's square. No drawings, just flies. You pass the apothecary's stand, abandoned, dusty, but on the counter a small glass bottle, labeled ink for the names you shouldn't say. You pocket it. Instinct. The bridge to the city gate is as narrow as you remember it, but the guards are gone. No challenge, no passwords, just a rickety wooden gate left open like a jaw. You step beyond. You expect a wall of fog, a spiral of plague, the masked figures. Instead, you find a road, and beyond that fields, burnt, ash gray, but honest. They stretch forever, and you walk them. You pass towns, none marked, some burned, some simply abandoned, like the breath had gone out of them and no one cared enough to relight it. In one, a doll lies in the middle of the road, face painted in charcoal, but no beak. You feel lighter the further you get. Your name starts coming back easily. So do the faces. The girl from Ward 3, the old potter, the boy with the stuffed toy rabbit. You speak them aloud, and the world doesn't flinch. You stop to rest in a ruined watchtower one night. You light a fire, small. You open your scroll. You write. No names this time, just truths. Simple ones. The plague eats memory first. The mask is not for protection, it's for forgetting. The rat watches because the rat remembers. There were 12 before me. There will be 12 after me. You seal it, sleep beside it. No dreams that night, no laughter, no knocks, just wind. One morning a rider finds you. His robes are new, white, not black. He wears no mask, just a satchel like yours. Are you the doctor, he asks. You consider that word carefully. Yes, you answer. But I'm trying not to be. He nods, respectful. I was sent to learn from you. You eye him from me. Yes, they say you survived the forgotten city. You almost laugh. Is that what they call it now? They don't call it anything, he replies. It doesn't appear on maps anymore. He reaches into his satchel, pulls out a scroll, still rolled, bound in red. You flinch, but it's different. Lighter, brighter. Stamped with a symbol, a circle broken at the top, a spiral in the center. You know it. It's yours. He holds it out to you. You don't take it. Why me, you ask? Because you remembered, he says. You came back with names, not just tallies. You take the scroll, open it. Inside, blank parchment. At the bottom, wherever you go, bring the ledger. Not for counting, for remembering. You close it gently. You look at the rider. He's young, maskless, eyes clear. He'll last a month, 2 maybe, but maybe that's enough. You follow him to the next village. It smells different here, like rain, not rot. Children still play in the dirt. A woman smiles at you, offers you bread. You accept. You write her name down, just in case. That night you sleep beside your scroll again. You tuck the white feather inside the first page. It fits. Perfectly. Like it was always supposed to be there. You don't wear the mask anymore, but you carry it, just in case someone needs to see it. To remember what forgetting costs. Historians still argue whether plague doctors helped or harmed more, whether they were healers or tallymen, whether they protected lives or just documented loss. But they never argue about one thing. The mask always comes back, and sometimes it remembers who wore it last. The mask weighs heavier now. You don't wear it, but you carry it, wrapped in linen, tied with a strip of blue cloth from a robe you don't recall owning. It rides in your satchel beside the white feather and the scroll that no longer erases itself. Every step away from the forgotten city is a step back into something, but not quite back into life. People still glance over their shoulders when you pass, still glance at the satchel like it's humming a hymn they can't quite hear, but they don't run anymore. That's something. The new village is called Caltavero. It's small, cheerful in that fragile way only places untouched by tragedy can be. The air smells of pine and fresh bread. Children laugh here without singing anything sinister. That's always your first check now what the children are singing. You hear them playing games in the square, something with ribbons and skipping. No spirals, no circles, no teeth in their hands. You exhale and allow yourself something new. A deep breath, you're greeted by the mayor, a man with too many rings and not enough sleep. "Doctor," he says, voice tight with relief. "We've had only a few cases, very mild, but the people are frightened." "Are they dying?" you ask. He hesitates. "No, but they're changing." He leads you to a small house at the edge of the village. It's clean. Too clean. Inside, a woman sits at a table, breathing slowly, her hands folded neatly, her eyes unfocused. A child lies on the bed, awake, silent. She watches you enter, says nothing, just points to the mask in your satchel. You sit beside her. "How long?" you ask. The mother answers, 3 days. Fever broke yesterday. No cough, no pain, no memory, she adds after a beat. You turn to the child. "Do you remember your names?" She shakes her head. "Do you remember anything?" She shrugs, then whispers, "Feathers." You glance at the scroll in your satchel, still blank, but pulsing. You write the girl's name as the mother says it. Sala. The ink holds. You exhale. "She's not sick," you say. "Not yet." The mother reaches for your hand. Will she get better? You think of the tower, the ledger, the city that forgot itself to survive. "She already is," you say. That night in the mayor's study, you speak with the rider again. He's reading your old notes. "Did you always keep records like this?" he asks. "No," you reply. "At first I counted corpses. Then I counted days. Then I started remembering people. He nods. May I write? You pass him a blank scroll. He begins. His handwriting is neat. Too neat. Like someone still afraid to be wrong. You ask, do you know why they call us doctors? He looks up. To heal, you smile faintly. No, to show up. Outside, someone rings a bell. One toll, not 9. You stand. It's your turn. You walk to the edge of the village. They've erected a tent, clean linen, freshly aired herbs strung across the flaps. Inside, one patient, a woman, mid-30s, sweating, fevered. Her eyes dart to yours. You're the one who remembers, she murmurs. You freeze. I had a dream, she says. You were there. You, weren't you? You lean in. What did I say? She closes her eyes. You said, forget me, save yourself. You whisper, I won't. You sit beside her. You write her name. Marion. The ink stays. But beside it, the scroll writes something on its own. She remembers too much. You frown, close the scroll, and wait. The next morning, she wakes. Clear-eyed, hungry, alive. You offer her water. She takes it. Whispers, what day is it? You smile. A good one. A week passes. The town doesn't fall. No plague pits, no black-cloaked strangers, no drawings. But something shifts. People start writing names on their doors, not out of fear, but in remembrance. Not here lies, but here lived. Here loved. Here made bread with rosemary. Here told jokes about cats. Here sang off-key, but loud. It spreads. No one commands it. They just do it. You wonder if memory is the cure, or just the resistance. Either way, it holds. For now. One morning, you walk to the well. A girl sits on the edge. Not Sala. Different. She wears a black ribbon. She's carving something into the stone. You approach. She doesn't flinch. What are you drawing, you ask? A rat. Your stomach tightens. But he's nice, she adds. He remembers what I forget. You sit beside her. You know his name. She nods. Giovanni. You close your eyes. Breathe. When you open them, she's gone. No footprints. But a single black feather lies on the stone. You don't touch it. You salute it. Then walk away. That night, you open your scroll. You write no names. Only one word, Giovanni. And beneath it, you draw the spiral. But this time, you finish it. A closed loop. A full circle. No breaks. You close the scroll and sleep and dream of a city that sings itself back to life. You wake with your hands already moving, fingers curled around a quill, ink drying on your palm. You don't remember reaching for it. But when you open the scroll, there it is. If you reach the last name, you begin again. No signature, no mark. Just your handwriting and your own voice from a version of yourself you don't recall being. You stare at it for a long time. Then you roll the scroll up slowly, carefully, like a burial shroud, and set it aside. The morning is still. No bells, no coughing, no footsteps above or below. Outside, Caltavero breathes like a child in deep sleep. The sun is weak, just a dull smear of light across the sky. But it's real. And real is enough. Today you're leaving. No ceremony, no summons, no need for permission. You've taught what you could. You've left the scrolls behind. You've trained the boy, no, the man now, who still calls you doctor, though you've long since stopped answering to the title. Now you move under another name, or none at all. You leave your robe folded neatly on the cot. You pin a note to the sleeve. If you wear this right, names, not numbers, and remember your own before every dawn. You pack only what matters, a fresh scroll, your original cane splintered but loyal, a pouch of herbs, mostly mint and clove, a bone flute you don't remember acquiring. The white feather now gone cold, and the cracked mask, which you still won't wear, but can't leave behind. You sling the satchel over your shoulder and step out into the waking light. The road isn't empty. A girl walks beside you before you notice her, barefoot, hair tied in a red ribbon. A crow perched on her shoulder watching you. She doesn't speak, neither do you. But her presence reminds you some stories echo beyond their endings. The trees thin, the hills grow taller. A stream hums somewhere to the east. And then you see it. A town, new, fresh. No crosses on the doors, not yet. You hear music, laughter, the signs of a life that hasn't been tested. You grip the satchel tighter. You don't smile, but you do step forward. At the edge of town, you stop by a low wooden fence. Children are gathered there, drawing on the ground with sticks. Circles, suns, flowers. One child draws a spiral, but this time it opens outward, not in. You kneel beside her. Why that shape, you ask? She shrugs. It's what the wind looks like when it dances. You watch her finish the spiral, then write her name beside it. Just a first name, in crooked letters. You whisper it to yourself once softly, and feel something settle. This is why you came. Not for death, not for containment, but to witness memory before it's lost. You rent a room above a baker's shop. The woman who owns it is already calling you doctor, though you haven't corrected her. You sleep lightly. You keep the satchel under your bed. You write names at night, not because there's plague, but because it helps you remember what you once forgot. You walk the town by day. Children follow you sometimes. No fear, just curiosity. You show them how to mix herbs, how to draw spirals in the air with smoke, how to listen when a name is spoken softly. One night, a child knocks on your door. You answer it. She holds up a parchment, a drawing. You, in the mask. But behind you, no rats, no spirals, just trees and stars and 12 small figures watching from a hill. You recognize them, all of them. The 12. She points at the tallest. That one's you, right? You pause, then shake your head. No, you say. That one's next. Because this story, your story, was never about the triumph of medicine. It was about remembering names in a world that forgets too easily. About walking into plague and coming back with something human. About choosing to stay when the world gave you every reason to run. You were never the cure. You were the ledger, the last ink between silence and forgetting. And now the ink is running low. But it held long enough, and the next village awaits. You leave the town before sunrise. No goodbyes. You're not the kind of story that lingers. Just a silent figure with a satchel walking into the mist, while the bakers stoke ovens and the children forget what they dreamed. The roads are soft today, wet with dew lined with low fog that glows faintly in the coming light. It wraps around your boots like river foam. The cracked mask is heavy in your pack. So is the white feather, though its warmth has long since faded. You check the scroll, your last one. Still space, still time. You pass a tree carved with dozens of initials layered atop each other in messy loops. You pause, trace one set with your fingers, not knowing if you recognize it or just want to. You don't write it down. Not yet. Some names aren't ready to be remembered. The next village isn't marked on any map. You only find it by accident, or maybe it finds you. The moment you step into the boundary, you feel it. Heavier air, stiller trees, a scent, not of rot, but of silence, like the woods are holding their breath. The gates are open. No guards. No watchers. Just a circle painted on the ground at the entrance. White chalk, fresh. You step over it. A bell tolls once somewhere deep in the town. Not 9, just once, but not a welcome. A reminder. The village is tidy, well kept, suspiciously clean. Children don't play. No one draws. People glance at you, then away. No greetings. But no fear. Just habit. As if they've seen you before. You stop at a well in the square. The rope is frayed, the bucket broken. But on the stones, names. Dozens. Carved deep. All first names. And under each one a single mark, a spiral. Closed. Not open. Not moving. You kneel. Run your hand across the carvings. One name hums under your touch. Yours. You didn't carve it. You've never been here. And yet, it's been waiting. An old man appears beside you. No warning. No sound. Just presence. You're late, he says. You straighten. I wasn't invited. He smiles, but his eyes are hard. No one invites what they've already accepted. You glance around. What is this place memory's last chance, he says, or its first grave? You nod. You've heard that kind of riddle before. He walks away without saying more. You follow. He leads you to a chapel, or what once was a chapel. The roof is gone. The walls are cracked, but the altar remains, and on it a mask, identical to yours, uncracked, untouched, clean. Beside it a candle burns, white wax, steady flame. A breeze should have put it out by now. You approach. There's parchment beside the mask. You pick it up. Blank. But as you touch it, ink spills across the page, slow and deliberate. Your name, underlined. And beneath it, you've carried them long enough. It's time. You don't need the rest explained. You sit, lay your satchel down, empty it. Everything. The cracked mask, the feather, the final scroll, the bone flute, the ink bottle labeled for names you shouldn't say, the first child's drawing, the dried lemon rind. You arrange them in a circle, one by one. You kneel in the center, and for the first time in years, you remove your gloves. Your hands are pale, unscarred. They've been healed behind your back. The final scroll waits. You open it. Only one line remains. You write your name. Then the girl from Ward 3. Then Giovanni. Then Marion. Then all the rest one by one, slow and complete as the ink bottle drains itself onto the parchment, each name settling like a leaf in water. The page accepts them. Doesn't glow. Doesn't burn. just holds. At the end, your hand stills. You whisper one last name. You don't know whose it is. It just feels right. You write it. The scroll curls inward, closes itself, and the candle goes out. Not in smoke. In peace, you sit still, eyes closed, breathing, alive, present, remembered. And in that silence, you hear singing, faint, distant, children's voices. But the song has changed. This time, Doctor walks and Doctor writes. Doctor counts the days and nights. Doctor listens, doesn't speak. Finds the names that others seek. Doctor dreams, but does not sleep. Keeps the names that silence keeps. Doctor's gone, look where you stand. Their mask may rest, but not their hand. The wind carries it off. The sky warms. You smile. You gather your things, but leave the cracked mask behind. It belongs to the chapel now. You walk to the edge of the village. You do not look back. The scroll is full. You'll start a new one tonight, because the names still come, and someone must hold them. You've walked long enough now. You've seen the plague eat faces, names, and maps. You've worn the beak, counted the bodies, felt the warmth drain from voices that once sang your name like a lullaby. But now it's quieter. The world has softened, not healed, not whole, but quieter. The names you carried are written now, safe inside your final scroll. They cannot speak, but they remain still, proud, stubborn, like you. And like you, they remember. The mask rests where it belongs, not forgotten, not feared, just retired. The roads stretch ahead lighter now. Your satchel no longer groans with grief. The feather sleeps, the ink waits, and somewhere children are singing your name into stories they don't know are real. You can rest, Doctor. You did not cure the plague, but you remembered. And that was always the point. So take a deep breath now. Let it fill your chest and lift the ache from your shoulders. You are no longer alone in this work. Others carry scrolls now. Others wear robes without cracking. You were the ledger. You still are. But now you may close the book and sleep. Rest easy, Doctor. The names are safe tonight. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let this final thought carry you into dream. You walked through a plague that wanted your mind. And you walked out with names. Not all, but enough. End of script. Sweet dreams.